Hello, this is Paul Harris for CGS. Today I'm joined by Mike Davies from Gran Colombia Gold, a company that has one of the highest grade underground mining operations in the world and that has also been very active on the corporate front recently. This is Paul Harris for CGS. I have the pleasure to be joined today by Mike Davies, CFO of Gran Colombia Gold. Gran Colombia has been very active on the corporate front recently. It's made an offer to acquire Guyana Goldfields and its Aurora project in Guyana, as well as Gold X, which has the Toro gold deposit in Guyana. Mike, can you tell me a little bit about that idea and what the plan is?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Gran Colombia, we're very happy with the projects we have. We've had an investment in Gold X since about the summer of 2018, certainly following along with our CEO, Marmato being on the board and the technical committee of Gold X, working with the local team as they've been working on their pre-feasibility study. And one of the things that became very clear to us as we worked with the team on that study was that an opportunity, a very unique opportunity exists with the Guyana Aurora project just 50 kilometers down the road, that really a fast way to ramp up production, accelerate production for the 7 million ounces of measured indicated resources at Toro, Peru, would be to partner it with the plant facility that sits at Aurora. They've had some challenges, I think, as they've moved into the underground phase. We see an opportunity to immediately bring within sort of 6 months the Toro Peru material into processing, as opposed to about 3 years if we were to go alone and build a plant. So the operating synergy, the capital savings, which we estimate to be $200 million plus, was just too good an opportunity to turn away from. And so we felt that after discussion with the Gold X board, that a proposal that would bring the three companies together, recognizing the great track record that Gran Colombia has had in the last few years in building its operations and building out its mines, together with the currency, which is the Gran Colombia stock, which is getting in much higher demand with people these days, together with the Toro Peru asset, as well as the production facility at Aurora. And the opportunity for us to go a little slower and really try to understand the structures in the underground of Aurora all made perfect sense in terms of a value proposition where all three sets of shareholders could win. Unfortunately, Silvercorp, came over top with a very large bid over top of ours. We've been digesting that the last few days. I think we'll be making a decision shortly as to how we're going to proceed next. But it's been an interesting process, and I think one that was a smart deal. And I think we'll make a smart decision about how we move forward next.
Thank you. Silvercorp matched or slightly improved on your offer. Have you had conversations with the management and board of Guyana Goldfields?
No, the Guyana Goldfields board has been operating pretty much as you would expect, following the provisions of their arrangement agreements. So we've had no direct discussions with the board of Guyana Goldfields.
Okay. And Gran Colombia took a small, I think it was something like 5% share ownership in Guyana Goldfields. So at the very least, you seem to have doubled your money there.
Yeah, we saw that as, first of all, an expression of sincere interest in our bid to put our money into that. If nothing else, we certainly, as you say, will make a profit on from our shareholders and cover the costs of what we put into making that bid.
Okay. Over recent years, you've managed to financially stabilize the company, and you're now generating a lot of cash flow because of the gold price and building a cash position, and obviously starting to enter into more corporate potential M&A type of activity. What's the overriding strategy there, and where would you like to develop? What would you like to develop Gran Colombia Gold into?
I think the focus of the company at this point is on continuing to generate free cash flow. This is a great gold market for us. $1,700 plus gold prices these days. It's more than we're $100 higher than we were even in the first quarter, where we had some phenomenal results. So we're, I think, going to continue the path of building some cash. I think, as you saw in March, we took down with an early redemption some gold notes. I'll be honest to say that I think in time we'll probably look at continuing to accelerate the reduction in the gold notes, given the large gold premiums that we're paying. Eventually, I think with this free cash flow, if conditions continue, we'll certainly look to how we'll deploy our cash, whether we have a dividend of some sort, whether we, where we'll put it. But in the short term, our focus is really on two key projects for us. The Segovia project, which has continued to operate through the national quarantine in Colombia. It's been in since the end of March. Operations are about 95% of what they normally would be. Our drilling programs are back on since about the middle of April. Drilling in Segovia is quite important for us this year. It's a key part of our strategy. And then we've turned our attention as well to the Marmato project through the formation of Caldas Gold earlier this year, leading the RTO. We have a small public or private financing that we did last December. So the company's got some cash. We're completing the pre-feasibility study right now, which should be done by middle of this year. We are working on financing options now for us so that by the fall, when we get through the pre-fees, we can get into the construction mode on the project. We're putting all the foundation in place for expansion of operations there. So we're very excited about Caldas Gold. The drilling's continued this year. We've been funding that. We're getting some great broad width intersections. In fact, one of the ones we just reported in the middle of May was one of the top 5 intersections globally in the drilling results so far in May. So it's continuing to prove to be a very exciting project, one where I think the resources will get bigger the more we drill. And so it's a very high priority for us to move Marmato along this year.
Thank you, Mike. Segovia is one of the highest grade underground gold mines in the world. You've been ramping up your exploration budget. I imagine with the free cash flow generation you have, you perhaps even be able to increase that even more. To what extent are you able to replace resources that you're exploiting and expand on resources? And what is the potential there for extending the mine life?
We think that it's actually very good. I mean, the mines have been going for more than 100 years. Never have they really had, more than 3 years worth of reserves. When you look back at the old historical reports of the previous mining companies that have operated, certainly we have, about 3.5 to 4 years of reserve at the moment, probably about 7 years of resource life. The last couple of years, we've replaced our reserve. We've added to resources on top of that. So we feel very comfortable about the ability around the mines and certainly extensions of the mines. I think what's going to be exciting this year is getting our first opportunity to step out with a more full-blown, fulsome regional exploration program targeting those other 24 veins that we know of that have previous mining history. And we haven't yet, with the COVID isolation, been able to start that program, but we hope to get to that program in the latter half of this year and really start to look for those extensions of new mines within the title.
Okay. At the Marmato project that's now in Caldas Gold, a separate publicly traded company, what's the development plan there that you're sort of trying to put in place? It's to sort of take the existing underground mine and expand that and go deeper there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look at the PEA that we filed in February on the Caldas profile, there's essentially a program that is two-pronged. The ultimate operation of our model will have two separate mines. The upper mine is the existing mine that's been in operation for several decades. The key focus with the upper mine, which still has about 16 years of runway to go with its identified resources, is to optimize the mining operation, introduce some additional equipment, have the miners take, sort of a more controlled mine path through the veins, through the heart of the veins, reduce dilution, thereby increasing grade, increasing production, and reducing cost. And we're working on that. We started in the first quarter. Our cash cost was a little higher in the first quarter as we absorbed some of the initial planning costs and some of the initial operating development we've started. But the goal this year is to get to probably about 32 to 37,000 ounces of production, and it's all predicated on improving the mining method, reducing dilution, and carrying forward. And that mine should do 35 to 40,000 ounces a year for the next 16 years. The second mine is the Deeps mineralization. It'll have a separate portal. We'll build a new 4,000 ton a day plant. It will have a ramp and a decline that will access the deep mineralization. It'll be mechanized mining, dry stack, tailing storage facilities, completely modern facility that we'll be building. And we'll start that in the fall of this year once we get through the PFS. Very excited about what that's going to bring to the community of Marmato.
Okay, for the Marmato Deeps project, what type of mining, what underground mining method will you be using, or are you planning to use?
It's a long hole stoping method.
Okay, and will you be looking for a partner to help develop that, or is that something you feel that Caldas Gold can develop and finance on its own?
No, we believe that's something that Caldas Gold can finance and take alone. We've got, as I said, we're in the first phase of the financing. We'll get into the second phase. We see, sort of a couple of financing packages coming together to ultimately cover the, $269 million capital cost of the project. We are looking potentially at sort of another gold notes issue like we did in Gran Colombia as a market opportunity for us to finance it. We are looking at a stream package to come into it as well. So we think financing is something that we can bring, and it's with the size of the project, it's certainly within the scope for Caldas Gold to handle on its own.
Okay. I guess another interesting thing about Caldas Gold, you recently acquiring a project in Canada. That's quite a departure from the sort of South American roots and base of both companies, actually. Well, what's the logic and thought process there?
Well, I think it's Gran Colombia as the parent certainly has carved out Caldas Gold as more of the development stage company, if you will. Marmato being sort of a small producer, but developing the underground project. We looked at this project in Ontario, which the opportunity was presented to us. The Juby project has been around for quite a while. It's changed hands a lot in the last 5 years and really hasn't had any attention. The last resource statement was filed by Temex in 2014, and it had about 1 million ounces of indicated at 1.3 grams and about 2 million ounces of inferred at just under a gram. So it has a demonstrative resource already. It's probably open. It looks like it's open pit material. It's in a really nice jurisdiction in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. So it checked a number of boxes for us as a development project outside of Colombia as we look for some geographic distribution. We like the idea of being in Canada with a project. And so Caldas seemed to be the obvious home for that within the Gran Colombia group. And our first order of business will be to pick up the drilling. There hasn't really been any demonstrable drilling on the project in several years. So we'll build up a resource with some additional drilling, and from there, then we'll advance towards the PEA analysis of the open pit opportunity.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Mike, for the update. Good luck with all the plans this year. Look forward to speaking with you again at some point in the future.
Great. Well, thanks, Paul, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.